Hey everyone, in this video tutorial I'm going to show you how to make something more complex using the screw modifier. This is part 2 of the screw modifier tutorials. So let's get started. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is you want to get your 3D cursor centered. So press Shift C and that gets the 3D cursor there at the origin at 0, 0, 0, and you can see that it's there. And then you're going to do Shift A and you can go ahead and add in a mesh plane. The object doesn't really matter what we use because we're going to merge all of the points anyway into a single point. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and tab into edit mode, and I've got all of the vertices selected, and I'm going to go ahead and press, on a Mac I'm going to press Option M, and I'm going to choose merge at center, the very first choice here. If you're on a Windows computer, you can choose, it's going to be Alt M, and that will be your merge command. Okay, so you'll see that all of them merge to the origin at 0, 0, 0, and that's looking great. Sometimes though, some mistakes happen where your origin unfortunately gets moved away from the 0, 0, 0 mark. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to purposely make a mistake to get that, so you can see how to deal with that. So you notice that I've just grabbed the vertex and moved it away, but notice that blue dot that's still down there. So that's the origin. So here's my vertex up here and here's my origin down here. And I want you to see that when I apply the screw modifier, what happens and then how to fix it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and model. I'm going to model a couple of things using the screw modifier. I'm going to model some table legs, and then I'm going to model a candle holder, the wick, and the flame, all using the screw modifier. So I'm going to go ahead and do the table leg right now. All right, so I'm going to continue like I did in the last video, where I'm going to take this single vertex, and I'm going to go ahead and just press E to extrude, and I'm going to start with figuring out half of the shape. I'm going to move my very first vertex. That's going to go back over here. It's right on the Z-axis, and I'm going to eyeball it just to see how good this looks. All right, so there we go. And I'm just going to make a very simple table leg. So remember that when you're doing this, you want to only model half of the shape that you're trying to do. Okay, remember that if you are making a curved shape, that you then want to do more extrusions so that you can get that nice rounded shape as I'm doing right now. Okay, do that. Let's go up. All right, and we'll finish my last vertex. We'll finish right on the Z-axis, so you can see this shape right here, and there it is in 3D. All right, so again, I'm going to select all. I'm then going to press F to make a face, and I'm going to look at it and see if everything looks pretty good. Remember, if you're not happy with the way something is, you can simply select vertices, grab them, move them around, reshape it. You really want your profile shape to be good, so that way when it spins around, you feel good about it and you end up getting a decent shape. I can box select all of these here. I can scale them, make them smaller, move them in. So you really can do all of the same modeling tools that you normally do. Maybe I'll box select these three right here, move them down. There we go. Okay, so moving on, let's now get to the mistake that I made. So remember that you'll notice that the 3D cursor is away from the mesh, and notice that my origin, this dot, is back down here at 0, 0, 0, and my object got accidentally moved. Okay? All right, so I'm going to go here to add modifier. I'm going to go to the screw modifier and look at that. Now you'll notice that I told you I was going to make a mistake. It didn't make a mistake because the origin was over here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the modifier. I'm going to move my object fully away from the z-axis, and let's see if that creates a mistake. Okay, so there we are there. You'll notice that, let me zoom in. You'll notice that what's happening is that it's using where the object is, in this case far away from the blue z-axis, and that's why I put this big old gap in the middle, and it is actually spinning around the origin, and that's why it's happening right here. That's why the blue dot origin is happening in the center. So this is kind of cool for maybe like a well or something, but it's not the table leg that I wanted. Here's another scenario. You'll see that my origin is right here. It's at the center, and so I went back into object mode. If I grab and I move it like this, so now look at where the origin is. It's not at 0, 0, 0. The object is moved away. There's space in between. Things are really messed up. Now if I go in and add in the screw modifier, again, you'll see that it still does that well-like shape, and it's working, but it's just not giving me what I want. So how do I fix this? So what you can do is, so one way you can solve it is this. We want to get the origin back to 0, 0, 0. That just makes life so much easier. So the way you can do that is get your 3D cursor snapped to the center. So press Shift C and get your cursor back to the center, and you can see that that's there. Then in your front view, press the letter T and make sure this toolbar is visible. With the toolbar visible, you want to look for this little pop-up right here that says Set Origin. Click on Set Origin and choose Origin to 3D Cursor. Okay, so now the origin has snapped to the 3D cursor, which happens to be at the center of our world. Okay, so let's see what happens if I apply the screw modifier now. We're still getting what we don't want. Okay, we're almost done. All right, so now what we can do is we can tab back into edit mode, and I can select this whole object here, and I can go ahead and just grab it and move it, and I can move it to anywhere I want. So let me zoom in so you can see what I've got. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to place it right here. So I could place it right here on the z-axis, something like that. If I want, I could grab it and I could put it up here, and I could put it like that, so that way it's at the base, if that seems better to you. So now if I go to Add Modifier and I click on the Screw Modifier, you'll see that it comes in, and it just looks a little bit nicer. All right, so so there we go. I'm going to go ahead and tab back out into object mode. Now, in my opinion, it does look a little bit, the shading looks a little off. It's kind of flickery. I'm going to see if I can fix it, and then I'll explain everything that I did to explain that. Okay, so remember that when you make your modifier, it's not real. The geometry isn't real until you actually hit apply. So for instance, if I'm in edit mode, I can't actually select any of these faces or vertices or edges because they don't exist yet. They won't exist until I hit apply. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm happy with the shape. I'm going to hit apply, and it tells me that there's an error. You can't hit apply while you're in object or in edit mode. You got to go to object mode. So I hit apply. Now when I go into edit mode, you'll see that all of the geometry is truly there. Okay. Okay, so you'll see that I have this weird shading, and that's some are dark, some faces are light. So what the heck is going on? If you're seeing a weird shading or flickering, you can just tab into edit mode, make sure that all is selected, and on your keyboard, try pressing Control N. And when you do that, Blender will try to make all the faces similar to each other and correct it, and you'll see that if I go back into object mode, you'll see that they're all a similar shade and they look much better. Okay, so that was Control N, and that does tend to fix a lot of problems. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue and finish up, and I'm going to go a little bit faster now that we've covered all of that. So I'm going to go into top view, so that's numpad 7, and I'm going to duplicate this, so Shift D, slide it on the y-axis, and there we go. I'm going to select both of those by pressing Shift right mouse click, Shift D again, x-axis, slide them down here, so I now have 4 table legs, and I'll go ahead and very quickly Shift A, add in a cube, tab into edit mode, S for scale, scale it on the x-axis, drag it out, move it, scale it on the y-axis, SY. Okay, you can see where it is. This is where a second window helps out. I'll go into side view over here. Now I'm going to, in my window, I'm going to press the letter Z, and I'm going to choose wireframe mode. And wireframe mode is incredibly helpful while you are modeling. So now what I can do is I can do B for box select, and select these bottom vertices, and bring them up. B for box select, select these top vertices, bring those down. Now my table looks a little more normal. Okay, I'm going to press Z again and go back into solid view, so that way I can see things. And then I'll tab back into object mode, and now I've got a table that has 4 legs. Okay, as my final thing that I'm going to model is, I said that I was going to model a candle holder, a candle, and that includes the wick and everything else. So again, best process is to, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select all and just move it down. Okay, so starting off, I'm going to press Shift C and get my 3D cursor at the center of my world. That is the #1 step that you want to do. Then Shift A, I'm going to add in a plane. Tab into edit mode. I'm going to press Option M, and I'm going to merge all of those verts at the center. So there it is there. Okay. Then I'm going to extrude out. This is the bottom of the candle holder here. And again, I'm just going to go ahead and do a lot of extrusions here, or not a lot, but a good amount. And real simply, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and extrude, and again, you can make this candle holder as fancy as you want. I'm just doing something simple here for time. Okay, so that's the candle holder right there. Then I'll just extrude up, and that is, let's say, the candle. And I'll go ahead and do a couple more extrusions here to make it look like the candle wax has melted and actually dipped down. Remember, you want to be careful of the Z-axis. This will be the wick, and now I'll do a few extrusions to make the actual candle flame. And so because this is rounded, I want to make sure that I do more extrusions, and you end up right on the blue Z-axis, just like that. And again, remember, you can select a vertex, press G, grab it, move it. You want to make sure that the wick isn't too thin, but it's thick enough to see it. Okay, so I think that's going to be good enough. I'll press A to select all, I'll press F to make a face, and hopefully you can see how this is going to work. Go to my add modifier, screw modifier, and you can see that it's there. I am getting those funny little shading effects, so we'll take care of that in just a moment. And we're pretty good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit apply, but it's not going to work. I'm going to tab back into object mode, hit apply. So now it's real. Now I want to fix that shading bug that's happening. So I'll tab back into edit mode, select all, I'll press Control N, and that fixes all the shading. And I'll go back into object mode, and there you go. You'll see that that is working. All right, now the placement here, I can go ahead and grab it, move it down so that it is in fact on my table, and I can move it around to anywhere I want. And so there we go. I'm going to call that finished, and I'm going to wrap up because this is now getting to be about 15 minutes in the tutorial. And I'll go ahead and I'll select all, grab everything, place it on the grid, and there we are. All right, so we'll call that done for today. So the screw modifier really helps out and helped me make some more complex shapes, all from the single mighty vertex. I hope this helps you out, and I will see you next time. Thank you, everyone.